Actually ended up calling the cops. And they stopped. Go figure. It's the first time I've ever had to call cops on someone who was setting off fireworks. Yeah. So after all that, once the adrenaline, was settled, whenever I came inside, Jean hugged me, and the cats were there until, but, yeah. So I remembered that lucky damn scared at one point and the door was open. So I went and checked. Both cats were accounted for. Little asshole didn't come whenever I called. He was really comfy. He was just looking at me like, "What, Mom?" Sometimes he doesn't like the fireworks either. But that's less a PTSD thing for him and more a cat thing. Cats and dogs can sometimes get spooked by the loud noises. So the last thing that you want is for an animal to get out on 4th of July. So yeah. Anyway, we kind of just wanted them to stop shooting fireworks at our roof. We don't really want anybody to wake up and have their home burned down. And we don't really want that to happen to us either, so. Yeah. So yeah, once the adrenaline wore down, I stopped shaking and I'm used to dealing with that, so now I'm kind of uneasy because there's no fireworks going off anywhere in our direct vicinity, so I can't win. It's part of the reason why, well, now there's something way off in the distance I just heard, but I can't really win in that respect, but it's okay. I already knew that. I just didn't want to end up with, fire or something. You okay? Jean got worried about me because I was shaking and I was telling him, "Go to bed, I'll be okay." He's like, "That doesn't reassure me because, it wasn't even the fireworks that got me that bad. It was the aggressive nature and the yelling combined with the bangs and the delayed bangs. I hate those, by the way. I will always hate those. But I can live with my neighbors setting them off. It's whenever they start. They brought one of their ground ones, the ones that don't fly off in the air, over and set it off by us on the opposite side of the street where we are. And they did it just to get a reaction and then started heckling us. That's whenever the heckling started. And you know what? A drunk person calls me a bitch. that's not so bad. And it's actually better to probably focus on that than what was all the other stuff, which I'm not gonna think about because I am in the present. It is too fresh for me to let my mind go down that path. There are times whenever, these two are asleep, I'll let that happen. Just because at some point it needs to, otherwise, it happens a lot easier. And it's easier to deal with if you're not completely suppressing it, I guess. If you let it happen sometimes and you let yourself cry sometimes, Gene didn't want to sleep because he was worried about me. And then he was worried about, the cops taking me away instead because we've both seen some pretty screwed up shit in our lives. And all these people, they like to pretend like it's because, their skin tones, but it's really not. There are plenty of cops who are equally, assholes to everyone. And then there are ones that are equally great to everyone. And then there are ones that, they'll discriminate based on a bunch of other things. Well, before they'll get into the color of your skin. So, yeah. I'm not saying that it's perfect. In fact, I will be the first one to tell you that it's not. I don't actually like calling the cops. It actually terrifies me to do so. But sometimes yeah, we got some good ones. At least I like to think so. They were good whenever they were here. I can't think too deeply on this, otherwise I'll start going down a rabbit hole. Because some cops really are good for some people and not others. Whenever you get a bad cop, the first thing people say is that this was a good cop and a bad call. But sometimes, a lot of the times, that's a cop that's made a lot of bad calls before they were caught. Too many to really be a good cop. And the people that they do it to have no power to speak up. No one listens to them, and stuff happens that shouldn't happen. But then, I've met some good cops, so I know they exist, and I think that we should be grateful for the good ones, and, I think the ones that aren't great need to be dealt with. And sometimes good cops can go bad because of the lack of accountability that goes around. Because that shit's infectious. Not in the germy sense, but in the behavior sense. That's what leads to it. So I don't even really feel relaxed in the emotional sense. What I feel is that sort of echo of calm after, well, normally it would be calm after, whenever you relax after an experience, and you just feel really heavy afterwards. Like your limbs are heavier and all that. Well, that's part of this. After, something particularly bad, a bunch of that stuff all happening at once, not good for me. But I'll be okay. It's him driving himself into the ground, worrying about me whenever he has to get up and work in like 3 hours. Is it 3 hours now? No, it's 4. Okay, 3.5, 4-ish. So he has to get up at 3:30. And it's 11:18. And it's him I'm worried about. Because I've had PTSD for a while, and I know how to deal with it. Some things are harder than others. Some things like tonight are like a major collection of things put together. But I know how to handle myself. That doesn't mean that I don't start talking a little scattered. That's embarrassing, by the way. Because I talk like someone who has an anxiety problem whenever that happens, and I don't have anxiety. And anxiety pills wouldn't help me because this isn't, chemical. Well, it is, but it isn't. Everything is technically chemical. And you could probably measure this like anything else, but it's adrenaline. Part of having the flashbacks is a lot of times you get that burst, you get that adrenaline, and fight or flight, and I had to be all stone-faced and mature in the face of this. I actually deleted one of the recordings though, because I caught something and I don't want anything to come of it. Because, thinking about it and the things that I said afterwards, to the camera, I was like, no. Because it was handled appropriately afterwards. And even drunk, they realized that stupid shit was starting to happen. It's just that they realized this after one of the fireworks had gone towards the kids. And I don't want there to be any proof of that incident anywhere. Because I don't trust CPS and shit not to use it. Because it doesn't matter if it's a one-time thing. They will. And whether the cops have problems with people drinking in their own home with kids present or not, doesn't matter. Because CPS will cause problems over it, and they have many times to people. So I'm like, you know what? I don't even want them to be there. I am gonna say this though, how drunk do you have to be to lie like a 3-year-old with their hand in the cookie jar? Do I even want to know? I don't think I've ever decided that was a good idea. I've never been so drunk I decided to... I tell them myself sober. I don't need help. But they were trying to be all deceptive, and they were talking about how they were going to corroborate their story while they were, in between heckling me and talking very loudly about me, because they didn't seem to realize that my camera doesn't have it's not great at picking up sound. Literally, it could only pick them up if they were like screaming or something. It doesn't pick up very much. As far as sound goes. So yeah. And I'm not even sure it picked up the screaming. But at one point, they even had the kids in on it. They were just standing there on the sidewalk screaming. Because, for some reason, their drunk asses were convinced that our problem was that they were loud. So they decided to get louder. But our problem wasn't that they were loud. Like, fireworks are loud, we get that. It was that they were shooting them up on our roof. And then, at the end, one of the guys actually thought it was a great idea to, like, throw the little poppers at the building that they live in. That's not good. I mean, this is pyrotechnics. You shouldn't even be operating this while you're drunk anyway. But, if you are drunk enough to think that that is a good idea, step back and maybe not. Because that can start a fire. Like, they went from shooting them up on our place and even having the kids do it. I thought that this was a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great example. Not really. They were shooting it up on the roof too. Like, who thinks this is a good idea? Like, who gives, like, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds drunk people, obviously. So they thought that it was a great game too. Well, the adults, weren't really adulting at that moment. The one lady, apparently the one that actually lives there, like, we've never spoken. And suddenly we're speaking and she's yelling at me. I'm a bitch, blah, 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 blah. Even more so because I called the cops. I feel kind of bad though now though. Because I was sort of rambling, groaning myself in the present. One of the cops, she was, female, and she's like, well, I get called a bitch for being a cop. Now I feel bad. Because I'm like, well, they shouldn't call her a bitch for being a cop. Go her, It's sort of something that as you get older kind of loses its fight, though. Getting called a bitch. I got called a bitch for being, for calling the cop. She gets called one for being a cop. It's kind of like the catch-all insult thrown at women. And it gets thrown around so much that it kind of loses its bite at some point, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I guess I've sort of gone off topic with that. But yeah, I feel bad. Like, I was so busy, like, just woosah, and, like, stopping myself from shaking any more than I was. But, I didn't get the chance to tell her that, that's bullshit and I shouldn't call you a bitch. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Some of it's not really all the way home, but it'll be a little while. Like, everything feels heavier, but you've still got that slight readiness, being on edge. But that's because it's never this quiet. Like, it's not even this quiet the day before 4th of July. It's the day before, the day of, and the day after. Okay.
3 hours.
Sorry. I'll stop so I'm not disturbing you, okay? I'm done. Alright, so he doesn't like his face on here. So I'm gonna end this now. So yeah. First time I've ever called the cops on someone for fireworks. Yeah.